Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to the live stream here on FUTV United TV. I'm Adam, bringing you up to dates on this Monday, the 7th of April, with everything going on with Manchester United. Let's forget a little bit about what happened in the Manchester derby yesterday. It wasn't a great game, and one that not many people are going to look back on and watch back, I'm sure. But after that, we have got, obviously, the build-up now to Lyon this week, and that is now taking priority at Manchester United. We're going to bring you up to date with the injury situation leading into that game, what Ruben said on a couple of the players that could possibly be added to the matchday squad from yesterday, and of course all of the other news around Manchester United leading up to the game, including one player that United could be up against that we could be signing, going off some interesting Spanish reports on Shirky, a possible transfer target, as we've already covered on the channel here for Manchester United. But what is happening with Casemiro is where we want to start today, and Ruben Amorim's quotes yesterday in the press conference about Casemiro and the transfer situation. Interesting point that I picked up on that I want to talk about from what Sir Jim Ratcliffe and United's stance was on the high earning players. I've got a poll running right now. Obviously, get involved in that, but of course, make sure you get your comments in as well to add a little bit of context to what you're saying. And obviously, get your comments in below if you are catching up later and aren't watching live with us right now. We want to get both live and comments in afterwards on Casemiro to start this show off as well. But we have got other news to get through. We'll get through all of that as we go through the show this morning. But yes, a fresh start to the week. Manchester United not really hitting it in front of goal, looking good at the back. That's all we can really say. And going into Lyon, I'm sort of half full, half empty in terms of my outlook and how I feel about everything right now. I feel confident still from what I'm watching. I still think United were a better side yesterday, but the derby was awful as a spectacle. It was. But it's done. We move on. And United looking forward right now, and obviously all of the conversation has come about on certain players, like the questions, for instance, on Maguire and some of the players that are possibly leaving Manchester United. But Casemiro has started 5 of the last 6 games when he's only made one substitute appearance from January up until March. All of a sudden, he is flavour of the month. And we're trying to figure out, I think, amongst all Man United fans, as to why Casemiro all of a sudden is now starting to get more game time at Manchester United. And interesting quotes from Ruben Amorim after the press conference yesterday, and something that you'll remember that he said earlier on when he first joined Manchester United: I will back my players all the way to the end until I get fired before them by backing them. Now, I'm not saying that Casemiro's going to get Ruben Amorim fired or anything like that, but what he did also say in the press conference was about Casemiro is that he's a player that has just carried on working hard, persevered through all of the changes in Manchester United, the system, what the demands, and everything else. He's seen players just come and go in and out of the squad, waited his time, didn't get a sniff, and we knew like Casemiro was sat on the bench forever and a day, not being used by Ruben Amorim. Now, the only reason I'm looking into this personally from the Casemiro staying point of view and him being part of Manchester United's squad next season is that Manchester United's finances, we know, are tight. Could we get the right amount of money for Casemiro to break even with PSR with what we need to do in terms of balancing the books this summer in transfers? It's going to be difficult. No one's come to the fore and offered Man United any money. And I think if United do get a reasonable bid of around about 25 million, they probably will end up selling him. But unless that money comes in and someone bids for Casemiro, I don't think he's going to go. I really don't think he's going to go. And you can say all you want about the wages and he's going to cost United a fortune. Yes, he is going to cost United in wages. He really is. But United need to invest their money correctly this summer in the areas that we desperately need. And I'm asking the question in the live chat and you in the comment section as well watching. Is Casemiro doing enough right now to prove to you that he could actually feature on next season and do a job for United next season? and don't just shoot me down on it straight away. No, Adam, you've been saying he needs to go. He does. I understand that. But I also have to be realistic with what United are facing this transfer window. And Ruben's quotes yesterday, on top of everything that I've just said there as well, was he's our player and he will be our player going forward. And obviously, things change when the window opens. And obviously, you're looking at Casemiro in a different way when the window opens, I'm sure. But what he's doing on the pitch right now, and a lot of people had him down as one of the man of the matches yesterday. I thought first half, tackling great, passing shocking. Second half, I think he sort of controlled that midfield. I think he bullied a couple of the Manchester City players in that midfield. And that's something that Manchester United don't have. in our squad. When we get rid of the Casemiros of this world, that expertise, that power, that physicality, that experience is not there and it's lacking. And we've all said that Manchester United need experienced midfielders into Manchester United's side. We cannot be bringing in kids all of the time. And the question I want to pose is, and just going off what Ruben has said there, and maybe there is a thought in this where Manchester United right now are looking at Casemiro being the father figure to a few younger players coming through our own academy, like Sekou Kone and Toby Collier coming through right now. Could we utilise Casemiro in one more season, then let him go on a free? I know it sounds crazy, but let's be honest, we're not really going to make much money if we sell Casemiro this summer or if we let him go for a free next year. I know the wages are still going to be there and we're still going to have to pay him, but if we're looking for an experienced midfielder to come in and help some of the younger players at United, should we not be looking at Casemiro? And look, and just to make this clear, I'm a fan that feels that Casemiro needs to be sold this summer. I do. I'm with that. I'm just trying to play devil's advocate here and say, from the other side, is there a question coming out of Manchester United now? Because remember something else that Sir Jim Ratcliffe reportedly said, and reports coming out of Manchester United, that next season, going forward, Manchester United's highest earning players have to be consistently playing players. As in, they're using them a lot, or Ruben's using them players a lot. And right now, all of a sudden, from them comments, and it's no coincidence, and you can call it conspiracy theory or whatever you want to, but since that report came out, Casemiro started 5 of the last 6 games. I know. It sounds like I'm trying to make a story out of nothing and all, but it's there, and that is what happened at United. And you have to look at things like that and go, right, okay, all of a sudden, Casemiro's playing more time than Eriksen. He's getting more game time than Manuel Ugarte, who was a big purchase for Manchester United in the summer. He's getting more game time than Toby Collier, more game time than Kobbie Mainoo. And he's the player that everybody thinks that should be leaving Manchester United. But now Ruben Amorim is learning how to adapt to things as well. And I think there is a case here with Ruben Amorim also having to adapt his game a little bit. Like, he can play his system. He wants to come in. He's strict to it. He's not been strict to it. He's had to change at times as well. We've seen it. And he is obviously still using the same ethos, triggers, pressing, efforts, energy, what he wants from the players. But he has tweaked things here and there. And we know he has. And Casemiro was never a part of this squad. He wasn't even considered. He was just sat there on the bench doing nothing. And now, all of a sudden, he's one of Man United's mainstays in this midfield. To play 90 minutes in the Manchester derby in a game that absolutely stunk the place out, when anybody could have been hauled off at any time, I think it's shown you where Casemiro ranks now in Ruben Amorim's mind in terms of his team and what he wants going forward. It's an interesting U-turn and turnaround on Casemiro. And all I'm asking is, I'm not saying that he should be staying. I'm asking, is it the worst case scenario if we've got young midfielders coming through into this team and we might not be able to go out and get the experienced midfielder we want? So look, if United win the Europa League, this all changes. And I'm only saying this now because of Man United possibly not playing in Europe next season. That's the only way that Casemiro stays for me. And it sounds ludicrous saying that because we can't really be affording to pay players the wages that he's on if we're not in Europe. But if United are looking for midfielders and you're getting rid of Eriksen, he's out of the door, he's gone. Obviously, you haven't got many other players coming in right now or sign of any other central midfielders coming in of the type of player that Casemiro is. And let's be honest, like, Manuel Ugarte hasn't really shone to a point where he's in every single week. He's had some ropey games. I think it's Casemiro or Ugarte. And if you can't afford to bring in a midfielder on, you're going to have to weigh in on a wing-back or a 10 or a number 9 or a goalkeeper, for instance, in the summer, and you haven't got a lot of money to spend. Maybe Casemiro being backup or first choice or interchanging between him and Ugarte is how United survive next season. Just putting it out there, but bringing in what the report was around the higher earners and going forward, United are actually going to be making sure that these players are the ones that are featuring a lot. Casemiro all of a sudden playing 5 of the last 6 games for Manchester United, featuring a lot more, actually performing all right yesterday as well and showing that he has still got something in the tank. I mean, he isn't a starter every single week, But could he do a job for Manchester United next season? Look, I've put the poll up. Keep or sell Casemiro. I've not even looked at the chat yet. I've just gone through this first bit, and I'm going to go right into the chat in a moment just to see how much bombardment I'm getting as to the ludicrous idea that Casemiro should be staying at Manchester United. But I'm just going off what Ruben said, how he sees things changing at United, and the environment and circumstances around Manchester United right now are interesting. And you cannot deny that they're not. If we don't get Europe, and we can't afford to bring in anybody else, is it worth keeping one of these players? And I know Eriksen is going, that's a definite, but there's nothing on Casemiro yet. There's nothing concrete. There wasn't anything in January. There wasn't anything last summer. Like, we were hearing all of these stories, but nothing came to fruition. The Saudis backed out of it. Who else is going to buy him? Who else is going to buy him? Because the price is still very similar to what it was. You're still going to have to pay 25-30 million this summer to take Casemiro. I mean, you could say that if he plays a few more games right now, he's actually putting himself on the market and someone might actually come in and take him in the summer transfer window. You could say that's a possibility. Indeed it is, because he is actually performing well. And he was, I think, better than De Bruyne yesterday, better than Silva yesterday. I think he was better than Ugarte yesterday. A lot of people had him up there, like I said, with one of their man of the matches. And you look at all the stats and the duels won. I think he won 10 of 11 duels yesterday. And his passing did get better in the second half. And experience is absolutely massive for Manchester United going into this transitional summer this season. Ruben Amorim has already said we need to improve so much more. We need to improve our defensive qualities, bringing the ball out from the back. We need to improve our pressing. We need to improve our decision making in the final third. He's gone through the list. We need to improve everywhere. And sometimes just a father figurehead in at United may be the right answer. I'm just playing devil's advocate, like I said, and I'm going to come to the comment section now and see what you're all saying, but just as a different option, and I'm bringing it out there after what was said yesterday and the performance that we got from Casemiro yesterday. I know he's been inconsistent, and I know he isn't the future of this football club, but am I not just making a point here for the situation that United are in right now, and it is sensible thinking-ish? I don't know. And please give the video a like anyway, because I am bringing a different side to the story here as well. So, right, there is loads of comments piling in. Stu, first of all, he has just renewed his membership, 14 months. Unbeaten in Europe, we're winning Europa League. Trust me, bro. I hope so, Stu. I really do hope that we have a good week this week. I've said for a long time we need 2 6s for this to work in the Prem, and one of the 10s becomes the 8. We can't be left with one central midfielder in the Prem versus teams playing 3 in the middle. So Carl there saying that maybe if worst case scenario, Casemiro could come in and work with another midfielder in that system. I just don't like Ugarte and Casemiro together. It doesn't seem to work for me. And in this, I feel like Ugarte looks a little bit like a spare part when Casemiro's there. He takes the lead, I feel, Casemiro. And I think that's just his natural game and what he's always played like. But, I mean, you tell me. Just reading through a few more now. Why do you want to sell Casemiro? Why do I want to sell Casemiro? Why do I want to sell Casemiro? I think that's quite clear. Obviously, he's a player that isn't the future of United. He's got 1 more year left, and we could use that wages that he's on to bring somebody else in. I've just made a case for the other side of that as well, of course, because we do like to be balanced. Kane, Osimhen, Vlahovic, Haaland, Mateta, Jimenez, Kluivert, Isaac, all would score 20 to 25 goals in this team. Possibly, yes. Let's see what else we've got in here. The realist says, I'm with you, Corinthians, is someone else making a comment. I like Casemiro, played well, but let's face it, too much money and his legs will slow down year on year. Well, he's only got 1 more year left. I think that's the point we're making. Are you happy to keep him for 1 more year and then he goes for free? Can we utilise him in the system next year? That bit of experience. And I'm only saying this if United find themselves out of Europe and don't have money to spend on a midfielder, because we've spent most of our money on forwards, which, as everybody knows, if you can compete with Manchester City, with Liverpool, with Arsenal, with Nottingham Forest, and be more than in these games and should win all of them games realistically that we've played in midfield, defensively, 1 or 2 goals here or there in losing these games, and you can't finish, surely your investment needs to be up front, and the midfield isn't doing too bad. Are we over-criticising our midfield and defence for the sake of our forwards always letting the rest of the team down? Because they are. The forwards are the problem. United are not getting battered by anybody this season. We've had the moments early on with Ten Hag and a couple of moments with Ruben in December, like with Newcastle battering us, and obviously a few teams like Bournemouth again at Old Trafford. But we've always been very, very close. We've always been competitive this season. I mean, I think we should have beaten Nottingham Forest twice. And we were pretty much near enough yesterday. Should have beaten City and done a double over them and Nottingham Forest. We should have beat Chelsea when we played them. Aston Villa, we drew 0-0 at Villa Park. Like, we are competitive. It's the consistency that's the problem at Manchester United, and the mentality and the character that we've got. And that's what I think Ruben is looking for. And with players like Casemiro, maybe that is an option for him next season. I don't know. I'm guessing here. Adam, I missed last night's show, so can I ask about the sit-in? Did it happen? There was a few that sat in. Yes, there was. It wasn't massive, mate. They didn't publicise it enough. You could clearly see that not many people knew Block. They really didn't. But you do need to DM me as well, mate, in case you've got your ticket spare again. We were trying to get it sold to Glenn yesterday, mate, but we couldn't get hold of you. Sorry, mate. And sorry, Glenn, as well. Just didn't happen. Sorry, buddy. But yeah, that sit-in did happen yesterday. And 9 and dynamic box-to-box 8 are both an absolute must. Problem is nobody is paying Casemiro's wages. The fact that Casemiro is on the wages that he's on, the Saudis are not coming in for him, does that mean that he's ultimately not going to be sold in the summer? That's how it looks to me. It does. We need an experienced midfielder with knowledge of winning big things. It'd cost 100 million to replace that. Is Casemiro really the answer to the Ruben system, though? I get what you're saying there. That experience is big, and if he's playing games and we are competing, then maybe he is worth keeping. It's a decision that you need to make between looking forward to the future or clinging on to the past for one more year. It's like Harry Maguire right now. One more year with Harry Maguire, one more year with Casemiro. Is next season or after next season going to be the one when we actually do get rid of all of the old guard players? Do we need to keep some of it, though? If we cannot just bring in young players. It is going to be a problem for Manchester United. We can't rely on this inexperience of players coming in, of young teenagers, young players, 20, it's like 17 to 20, like we're being quoted into getting at the moment. Even like Delap, like we said, 22, not got that experience. Is there a case? Adam, if we get an offer for Casemiro, we will break even. Don't forget how much we signed him for. I think I just explained all of that, Historic. I'm completely aware of everything that there is going on with Casemiro. We have to get 25 million. It's as simple as that. Otherwise, we won't sell him. 20 million probably breaks about even. But then we're breaking even and we're just losing his wage. Have we got enough money to then reinvest into another midfielder to replace him? Because you cannot just leave Collier and Ugarte as our only midfielders. I know Kone's coming through, but right there is a raft of inexperience. You could argue that Bruno drops in and is our experienced midfielder. But what we're saying is there a decision and a conversation going on at United right now with Casemiro that he is a player that they're not going to make much money of and possibly not going to have enough money to replace straight away? I think that's the conversation that you're having. If we get the bid in, I think we will sell him. If someone does come in with 25 million, I think we probably make a few million in terms of PSR, and we may invest that into something else. It could be a down payment for another player on massively cheaper wages. And that will be the decision at the end of the day, I think. Financially, and obviously being able to bring somebody else in who they feel could do a job. I think that's important in all of this. And I feel like Casemiro right now, where he is performing okay for United, we all know that he's not going to be consistent enough next season. He's done it throughout his time at Manchester United. Good moments, bad moments, really bad moments, really good moments. And he is probably one of the eldest. I think he is the eldest in our team right now, isn't he? I think going into like, as you know, 32, 33, Casemiro, I think you're looking at it going, you're clinging on a little bit there. But look, if you get a good system working and Casemiro can slot in here and there and help out, pretty much like what Pep's done with De Bruyne, I just feel like there is probably a conversation going on, and I think we do need to accept that there is a chance that Casemiro might actually stay at Manchester United this summer. How 8 years on do we still need to buy a central midfielder? We have one in Ugarte. The jury is out on. Well, there's been a lot of mismanagement and poor recruitment, Carl. That's all we can say. And I think that's what we've always been talking about and debating on these shows. It's always going to come down to poor recruitment. I want to move on. We did get an update last night from Fabrizio Romano in the midst of all of the things that were going on with Manchester United and the Manchester derby and everything like that. Romano came out with a tweet last night, and you can see it at the bottom of your screen there. Now, the only reason I have gone in confidently with Sancho going to Chelsea, no matter what, at the end of this season, is that Romano said the plan still is that Sancho stays at Chelsea and is a payer on a permanent deal next season. Chelsea pay Man United 25 million. Now, Maresca didn't want to even go near it in his press conference before the game with Brentford this weekend. I watched that press conference and he was quizzed on Sancho, and Maresca basically just sidestepped it and said, we're not talking about any players right now, we will decide in the future. And then later on, obviously after the games were played, and they stunk the place out at Brentford as well, Chelsea, with another 0-0 draw, Romano has come out and said that Chelsea will make a decision on Jadon Sancho at the end of this season when everything's done. All of a sudden it's changed. Okay, so now we have to wait until the end of the season. And in Romano's words, they're going to make a decision on whether to pay United 25 million and keep Sancho, or pay Manchester United 5 million and send him back. I'm like, when I'm thinking about that, I'm going, I'm paying 5 million. And then I start to panic that this is actually now, after everything that's been said, going to come back. And Jadon Sancho is going to be a Man United player in the pre-season again coming up. I'm still hopeful that United will actually get this deal done with Chelsea, but it's comments like this and it's reports like this coming out that really start to concern me that we have got too much to do. I've just discussed there in detail what could possibly be going on at United with Casemiro. And then we're talking about Sancho not being a guarantee as to going to Chelsea at the end of this season. Now, we've spoke about that before, I know, but I've always had the confidence in what Romano said first of all, which is it's still the plan. Chelsea are going to take Sancho. Now he's come out and his tune has changed to a point where no decision is going to be made on Sancho until the end of the season. Now, I don't see Jadon Sancho turning his season around at Chelsea and making a point as to like, wow, you've got to keep Jadon Sancho. And Chelsea are doing everything they can just to make sure that he's still part of their team next season. Wow. Honestly, like now we're in a situation where we are starting to maybe just hover over that little bit of a panic button and Jadon actually still be a chance of coming back to Manchester United this summer. That is very, very concerning, I would say, for all Manchester United fans hearing that from Romano. But again, it is all coming down. And like Carl's just messaged me back there in the comments section saying 100% agree, it is all down to the recruitment side of thing. And again, Jadon Sancho falls back into this bracket. I've just said then we're looking at Casemiro probably staying one more year, Harry Maguire staying one more year, and now we're bringing in Jadon Sancho. That we've not sold Marcus Rashford yet. All of a sudden, all of the good that I have been talking about, and you can say that it is sort of like a flip-flopping attitude, but I'm only reading what reports have come out, and all of a sudden the environment changes again. And it looks like things might go back. And it just feels like every single decision going into this summer is at an absolute crucial stage and could go either way at the moment. I mean, honestly, who wants to buy Jadon Sancho? Who wants to buy Casemiro? Who wants to buy Harry Maguire? At the prices United need to get for them players to, for one, replace them, as in Maguire's case, and Casemiro's place, and two, just get out of the door in Jadon Sancho's case, who is going to give United that money? I mean, you could say that Dortmund would come in and give United 25 million. We got 5 million off Chelsea, and all of a sudden, bang, you've got 30 million instead of 25 million, and there's no worries at all. All I'm thinking of is the workload involved in Manchester United's summer, and there is too much to do. We talked yesterday in detail about the transfer window opening early for the teams in the Club World Cup. Now, Chelsea are chasing Man United targets. City are probably after Manchester United targets as well. And if they've got a jump on us in the transfer window and we still don't know how much we can spend because of situations like Sancho, like Casemiro, possibly Maguire, like I said, I think it's a different scenario with him. But with us having to do so much in getting players out, are we going to miss out on players that we need to invest in and get in? Because we all know that Man United need to sell players to progress in the transfer window and buy the players we need to bring in. If we haven't got our ship in an order and everything is still up in the air a little bit, it just puts us behind everybody else. And I know other clubs have got to do their own business, but nobody, and let's be clear on this, and I think this is a definite, nobody has got a situation as mixed up as Manchester United have for their transfer window. There's nobody compares to United. With the amount of stuff that we've got going on, we've got Anthony on loan and Marcus Rashford on loan. Thankfully, both of them are doing well. But we're not going to make much money off Anthony. We've got Marcus Rashford who could bring us that 100% profit, which is going to be massive for us. Jadon Sancho is key. Jadon Sancho is the difference for Man United probably getting a good 10 and a good 9 and maybe only being able to afford a good 9. I still think Sancho will go. And the club's stance on this has been very, very clear from the get-go as well. Is that Jadon Sancho is not welcome at Manchester United. He doesn't stand the chance of coming back and playing for Ruben Amorim, but he's still on the books. And while United are not using him, it makes him look like a problem. If Maresca sends him back after agreeing, and this is how I read the situation. Imagine you're a club looking at Sancho, and the only hope we have got is the German clubs because they love him. Maresca has taken him and forced Chelsea into making this move for Jadon Sancho. He was the driving force behind it. He knew him at City, and he thought there was a player right there. If Maresca turns around and says that he doesn't want Sancho anymore, then what does that look like? He's coming back to United where he's not going to feature, and then you've got a player there that everybody's going to come in and say, well, Chelsea didn't want him. You're not playing him. So why should we pay you 25 million for a player that is not featuring one bit, that nobody wants to use? We'll take him off your hands, but you can forget about asking that price, and all of a sudden, bang, you get bid in the arse, and United end up losing out again from what deal they originally had with Chelsea. Ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. But that is how I look at it, and going a bit deeper into it, surely that's how other clubs will be looking at it as well. We're going to take advantage here. And Dortmund would gladly take Sancho. And in terms of Sancho actually leaving Manchester United, like just him being back and in amongst it is a pain in the ass. I'm confident he will go, but I'm now concerned about the money that United might get for him. Because let's be clear, Dortmund are not going to pay 25 million. They're just going to absolutely take United for everything that they've got. Again, like they always have done. And we're the ones that are going to lose out on this. And it may only be 5 million here or there or something like that. But still, that is big for Manchester United right now. It sounds like I'm making a meal out of what could happen with Sancho. And he may just go for 25 million. But from what we're reading there, I look at it a completely different way. I'm starting to feel like there is issues in still moving him on. But we'll get comments on this now anyway and see what you say. But do get talking to me as well in the bottom on Sancho and Casemiro. Two of what you would say is the poor recruitment side of Manchester United's past coming back to bite us well and truly in the arse, I would say. And are just that little thorn in your side that you want to get rid of and move forward. But they're just not allowing us to move forward. God damn, Man United. Honestly, please give the video a like. We're creeping up to that 150 mark. Let's see if we can get 200 while we're live, everyone. Thank you all. Let's get into some comments on this. Why do obligations buy when you can just break it with a fee lower than 25 million? It should have been more than what was agreed to be paid, so we will get the money even if they send him back. Well, I don't know how these deals work. I always seen obligations pan out and work and go through. This will be the first one that I've seen, and there may be others. I've not looked into it. There may be others that haven't gone through, but I've never seen a loan with an obligation not work out. And again, it's only with United. Like, why is it always us that has these situations coming around? Like, I don't get it. It is just a weird scenario, I feel. And at the moment, looking at it, it could go either way, is all I say. Not sure Maguire will be sold with Evans and Lindelof going. We'll need experience in squad at the back and Heaven Kakonki coming through. Yeah, but we have got Martinez, we have got De Ligt, we have got Mazraoui as well. The experience is there alongside it. And obviously Ruben did allude to Aiden Heaven maybe changing the tactics in the transfer window because he's come through. By the way, Aiden Heaven and Kobbie Mainoo, as you can see going across the bottom of your screen, are in contention to be in the matchday squad for the Lyon game on Thursday. Both training on grass, and obviously there is a decision to be made. We have got a big squad going to Lyon. I'm confident. Please. Please, United. Let's say, don't shoot me, but I can see Gyökeres going Arsenal, Osimhen going Liverpool, and Rashford, Sancho, and Antony all coming back. God bloody help us. No, Ants, that's not happening, especially on the last three. Ruben wouldn't have it, and I don't think Ineos are in any position to not back Ruben on this right now. I think they have to at least get them players out that are necessary. ATKO says, like Martial, Lindelof, Kagawa, Sancho never won a tackle while at United. Soft, no desire. Barbara says, we might have to suck it up with Casemiro for another year. Not his fault. It's too good a deal for him to walk away from. Lindelof, Evans, Eriksson will go. Of course, all on contracts that end this summer. We know part of the old guard is definitely leaving, but the Casemiro one, I think, still has legs in it. And I think we are looking at a situation where it's not a guarantee. It definitely isn't a guarantee that Casemiro is going to be leaving Manchester United. What Sancho has done wrong is be paid a fortune to not tackle in games and act like a rapper off out of the games. Coaches can see his slack attitude, but still gets these deals and gets to Dortmund, gets to Chelsea, plays at United. Like, what are they not picking up on? How can we all see issues, but people who are with him day to day can't? That's the big question in that, isn't it, with Jadon Sancho? And again, it is a concerning one. Look, a player that is in Sancho's position that United could bring in, and this is a tiny bit of good news, nothing absolutely dead cert or going to happen, but I like to dig deep when I can and look into a lot of reports. I have done this morning, actually. And there is some reports coming out from Spain regarding Ryan Cherki. And you know who that player is. We did a show with him the other day. The possibility of releasing him from Lyon, or the possibility that he will leave Lyon in the summer. Romano has come up and updated us on this. There are certain circumstances that have to trigger Ryan Cherki's release clause as well, though. So it's not as straightforward as getting a player really cheap, like the reported initial 19 million quid. We've done some more work on this, and after I did my show, I think a few more reports were going around at the same time, and Romano himself has come out and just completely updated the situation on Ryan Cherki, which is that he will leave this summer, but it isn't as straightforward as 19 million. It's more like 20, 25 million. There is more to it that Lyon have to have or stipulations that need to be met, or triggers that need to be met for it to happen. But ultimately, they will still sell him, and someone will pay a little bit more for him than what that initial fee was. Still going to be cheap, still affordable, still only 21, still a fantastic player who has got 18 assists and 8 goals this season. We're going to see him in action on Thursday against us for Lyon, but the latest report is, and obviously Real Madrid were in for him, wasn't there? But there is a report coming from Spain on Ryan Cherki, which says that Real Madrid don't want to enter the race to get the signature of Ryan Cherki. They know they're probably going to lose out because he is, and in this report's words, destined for the Premier League. And it's between Manchester United and Tottenham Hotspur. Now, this is only a Spanish report, and I need to stress that it is coming from the Madrid side of things. But apparently they are moving out and dropping out of the race for Ryan Cherki, and it is because they know that he is pretty much nailed on to go to the Premier League. And the two teams that are in the fold are United and Spurs. If it's United and Spurs that are, and this is a realistic report, and again, I'm not sure because it is the Spanish side of things, and I never really trust the Spanish reports on this, but you've got to say that United are favourites over Spurs. Surely you've got to be going and getting Cherki if he's available and he's open to coming. We know what qualities he's got. We know what money he's on. We know United can afford him. We know his age. You could say, does he fit into a Ruben Amorim system? That's the only question you've got. Does he have the work rate? Does he have that intensity? Does he have the pressing qualities? He is a flair player that can play up front, out wide, and in the 10 role centrally, and a little bit deeper in midfield if necessary. Versatility ticks all of the boxes for Ryan Cherki and Ruben Amorim. 100% it does. But does he have the characteristics? And this, where obvious transfers are there for everybody to see. Sometimes, and even I, after doing the Cherki video, still a little bit sceptical as to whether or not he fits into Manchester United. He's better than what we've got, and on paper, it looks great. But everything that we've said this morning, everything we've talked about with Sancho, with Casemiro, with other players leaving United, you would say on paper that these players all, when first brought in, excited fans and look like the right fit. And I'm not saying Cherki doesn't. But what I am saying is, bleeding, make sure that you've got your recruitment right and you're buying the right player. And you're getting a player that fits in what Ruben Amorim wants. Because the last thing we need right now is the scenarios that we're talking about at the top of this show, where you've got a player that's not fitting in and isn't featuring at all. United, like I said before, the high-earning players need to be playing consistent games for Manchester United. You are rewarded at Manchester United if you are performing day in, day out, week in, week out throughout the season. And that's right, and that's how the club should be. And like that contract we spoke about regarding Kobbie Mainoo, an incentivised, structured contract, which is going to move as he progresses and performs. Brilliant. That's where it needs to be. And I think any player coming in now is going to be on very similar. I mean, you look at all of the wages on the players that were brought in the summer under Ineos, and they are all under a structured sort of contracts. No one's on mega money. And obviously, I think there is performance-related bonuses within contracts. Now, obviously, no one is going to fit into that category or get a bonus this season. You would have thought our worst ever season. Ruben Amorim's comments after Gary Neville's criticism yesterday were, look, we are not in an entertainment situation right now where we can go on all this swashbuckling, attacking, blood and thunder football that should be in a Manchester derby. It should. And Gary Neville's criticism of that. Amorim came back and said, look, we're not in that situation at the moment. We're in a transition and we can't afford to be that open. We're trying to just get through games and work on a structure that works within this club. And I think this is where we're at right now. And sometimes pundits forget about that and forget about the standard of football that used to be there at United that isn't there anymore. But to beat that and get past that, you have to drop back and take a step back and reset a little bit. And I just don't think there's any patience at all within the punditry on Sky in particular with what's happening right now. Like Jay made the point last night on the review show when we were talking about how it seemed to be one-sided in all Manchester United, but City get away with it and get the free ride. It's all criticism about United's recruitment and the players that they've got and how they're not performing and the reason why the derby was so dull and drab. Ruben has got a big task in front of him. Players like Ryan Cherki and anyone coming in now have to be absolutely perfect. And we haven't heard much of Manchester United's interest. There is obviously United keeping tabs on them, on Cherki, and the report pretty much says that as well, that United do want to be kept informed about the situation. And that's where we're at right now. And we've made a case, and we've made a big case for Cherki to come into Manchester United because of the qualities that he's got. And I'm sure he will perform against us on Thursday. He's a very, very good player. And we'll see what his work rate is like then. But again, it comes down to Manchester United making sure that everything fits and all of the boxes are ticked. And this is something that works for us and Ruben Amorim. Not just because he looks good on paper. All of them players are what we've just spoken about at the start of the show. So no. Let's get into the comments on all of this. Ryan Cherki, is he a player for you? Can we make this better and word this as Sancho not staying at Chelsea rather than Sancho coming back to United, please? Much love, legends. I know it's painful to say it, Greg. Carl says, Sancho and Casemiro are not in the same bracket. For me, Casemiro wasn't a bad buy. It just hasn't really worked. Sancho is one of our worst transfers ever. Agreed, Sancho definitely is up there. He's competing with the likes of, In fact, you know what? He's up there on his own. He probably is one of our worst ever transfers, alongside the likes of Antony. When you look at value and what was spent, some people would put Paul Pogba in that bracket as well, and other players alongside him. But Sancho, right up there. That's a question to ask, actually. Is Sancho our worst buy ever at Manchester United? When you put wages, contract, transfer fee, everything in, how he's performed, what's happened with him at the club, is he one of our worst transfers in the club's history, or the worst? Talk to me in the chat on that one. Rasmus is our worst signing. It's because he's Nordic. That he doesn't get the hate. Blonde hair and blue eyes. I think that's a bit far out there, to be honest. I think because he's Danish, he's not actually getting criticism. He's getting a ton of criticism. An absolute ton of criticism. I was asking questions to United fans outside Old Trafford yesterday, like, who is the one player that you would get rid of this summer? If you were guaranteed one player that you could get rid of this summer out of Man United's squad, who would it be? There's a short video coming out on that, actually, later on today. So stay tuned for that one. You'll be surprised, actually. You'll be surprised. We spoke to more than half a dozen fans, and on that video, they all give their verdicts on who needs to go. Very, very interesting outcome on that one. Some people saying Sanchez was worse. Yeah, Sanchez. Oh, my God. Going back to the death days right there, aren't we? We really are. What's that? Is that for pundits you're supposed to say there, Fouchot? For the pundits, many of these guys like Gary Neville, who can't even coach an average Valencia side. ATKO says, has anyone watched Assane Diao? He is awesome, but Scousers now wants him to replace their wingers. United are in for Assane Diao. We are monitoring him. And yes, he's another option for that right-hand side for Manchester United. You got Roger Fernandes and Assane Diao. They're both linked with Manchester United this summer and are probably Christopher Vivel-driven transfer targets. Hello, everyone in the chat. If you have just joined us, I can see quite a lot of regulars in there as well. I see Jeffrey in there, Blocks in there, Stu, great, everyone, Jeffrey as well. Let's set some more comments on everything. Sancho plus Sanchez, same WhatsApp group, says Kieran. Yeah, one player to sell would be Erasmus. As we would then need to get a real number 9. Manchester United are still open for any form of swap deal for Rasmus Højlund if that came about this summer. That was another story that was floating around as well. Adam, what's the best platform to DM you on? Just do it on Instagram, mate. Just hit me up on Instagram, buddy. So if you've got anything in the future, we can obviously offer it out as well. Tayebi, worst keeper, no-brainer. Yes, now I'm kind of afraid if we sign a flair player who is on high money. Yeah, I mean, we are all afraid. I think we're all going to be very, very sceptical of any player that comes into Manchester United this summer. And we should be. We've seen the past. Oh, Di Maria, that's a good shout. Majestic. Di Maria is worse. Why did he come if he didn't want to? Yeah, that was a nightmare transfer for Manchester United, that, wasn't it? It was. He's up there. Sancho, Di Maria. Whoa, now we're talking. Shaw, Højlund, Rashi, Mount, Onana, Anthony, Casemiro, Sancho. Hard to choose one. Shaw wasn't a bad transfer at the time. Sorry. It was a good buy. And he was unfortunate. So I'm not going to say that Shaw has been a bad transfer. We made the wrong decision in not releasing Shaw earlier. That's for certain. But he was always just there doing enough every time that contract situation came about. And that's why he's been at the club over 11 years. Oh, that is... There's some scary numbers right there, aren't there, with some of the players that have clung around at Manchester United. Look, I really do feel sorry for Luke Shaw. I do. I wouldn't wish his career on any professional footballer. He's a brilliant player when he's fit and he's playing consistently. It was his best I've seen him was before he got his leg break. He was brilliant for Van Gaal. I loved him under Van Gaal. And then that break, it really has destroyed his career. It has. And it's a shame. It is a shame. Shaw, defo should have gone in the Jose days. It's crazy short time at United. I don't even think, like, Shaw was called out by Jose, and Shaw really should have gone then, but the hierarchy again, the running of Manchester United, the mismanagement of Manchester United was there for everybody to see. And that, I think, is the problem that we've always come up against. Block says, Jemba. We didn't pay a lot for him, though. So, in terms of price to quality, I would say he wasn't the worst one. Sky Pundit Team Logic equals. For years, say the club needs doing over from top to bottom, and then give it 6 months when they get in, whilst also saying give it time. Yeah, the contradiction crew is probably the best way to describe him, Greg. Thank you for that super chat again, buddy. I appreciate that, mate. Keep them comments coming in, everybody. Just to go over what we talked about earlier on, Ruben Amorim's comments on Casemiro, our player and our player going forward. Casemiro all of a sudden has featured in 5 of the last 6 games, started 5 of the last 6, played 90 minutes yesterday. Was one of United's better performers yesterday. All of a sudden, after the comments and reports coming out from United that high-earning players at this football club will only be players that are featuring week in, week out and consistently, all of a sudden, Casemiro is getting game after game after game. I'm not saying he's not playing well, but kind of coincidental that is now happening. And I've made a point, and the poll's been running up all show. Please do put a vote on that as well, and drop your comments in. Keep or sell Casemiro. 75% right now are saying sell Casemiro, but there is still a good chunk there. 25% of the people watching right now would still keep Casemiro in at Manchester United. So there are people that do think that he can still do a job next season. My argument for Casemiro, for all the people that have just joined us right now, is that if we haven't got money to bring in a number 8 because we're investing into, say, 10s, 9s and right wing backs, goalkeeper maybe, could we keep Casemiro to help the likes of Ugarte, Collier, Kone coming through, the younger players? Just a point I'm making. Could we get a versatile hybrid 10 that can drop in and also do a job in that position? Is that an angle? And just having Casemiro there, would Man United like to break even and save his wages for a year? Possibly yes. Or keep him around because we can't afford to bring in another player, therefore saving a transfer fee? You see where I'm going with it. That was the point we made earlier on. Jadon Sancho, according to Fabrizio Romano, is still a possible to come back to Man United. Romano has changed his tune from saying that the plan is still to buy Sancho for 25 million for Chelsea at the end of the season, and now coming out yesterday with a tweet saying that no decision has been made off the back of Maresca sidestepping the Jadon Sancho question in his press conference ahead of Brentford yesterday, as to say now a decision will be made at the end of the season whether they spend 25 and keep him and pay United 5 million and send him back to United. That's the situation we're in right now with Jadon Sancho. It's a little bit concerning, and I can feel the fear amongst the live chat and probably the United fans watching this, that Sancho might actually be back at United this summer. There is a real possibility that could still happen. And reports from Spain that Real Madrid are not chasing Ryan Cherki. They're moving out of the race because, in their words, he's destined for the Premier League. And there's 2 Premier League clubs that are already well involved that they don't want to get into a transfer tussle with, which are Manchester United and Spurs. That's a Spanish report. And again, like I said earlier on, I stress Spanish, and sometimes not the most reliable. But we do know that United are officially interested in Ryan Cherki, or keeping across the whole situation. You could probably say more to be exact on that one anyway. But yeah, that is everything up to date. Also, on the good news side of things is that Aiden Heaven and Kobbie Mainoo both training on grass, and both are in contention to be in the Manchester United matchday squad, heading out to France on Wednesday night for the first leg of the Europa League quarter-final, where we will get a good look at Ryan Cherki as well. I will keep you fully up to date with all of the other news going through the day as always. Make sure that you do put a like on this video. We have passed over the 200 live like mark. Thank you, everybody. Absolutely epic attempt from you all again. Gifted membership to Dread right at the end of the show from London. Thank you very much, London, and welcome to the Members Club, Dread, as well. Make sure you have subscribed to Forever United TV as well. I will keep you up to date with everything going on with Manchester United, from the youth team to the transfers to the injury updates to the match days. You know what it is. Get involved, be part of the journey. We're on the road to 80k. Thank you, everybody who has subscribed already. And everybody, have a great day. I will see you all later on. Like I said, if anything does break, I will be live making sure it's all covered. Other than that, have a good one. I'll see you all a bit